looking down really up. We got the high sign, so we are ready. Good morning, everybody. I'm glad to see everybody here on an otherwise gloomy day, but hopefully there's some joy in your hearts that we actually got rain. My name is Linda Kozitzky, and I welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Pottstown. In Unitarian Universalism, you can bring your whole self, your full identity, your questioning mind, and your responsive heart. Together, we create a force more powerful than one person or one belief. Unitarian Universalists do not have to let go of personal experiences, practices, or beliefs to be part of this community. We join together on a journey that honors all our individual backgrounds and experiences. We welcome you to that journey. With that, I would like to say if there are any announcements. And I don't know if we have a microphone, if you just want to come up here, maybe.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Yes, I'm Irene, and I'm your point person for social justice. And boy, do we have a lot of exciting social justice action announcements today. So exciting. So we really came together as a UUFP representation group this week. We've attended successfully 4 events between all of us. Kay and I were in attendance at school district funding town hall, organized by Power Interfaith, who I'm actually in talks right now. She's going to come in here and do a little presentation and announcement for us, and hopefully we can join in with them. So we'll be following through on that. We're also got featured in Mercury. And we've had several pictures that will be featured in this Adorner next month with Kay. We also had someone attend, we had Monica actually attend a Bernie Sanders fighting oligarchy event in Bethlehem over the weekend. We've had Lori attend Safe Social Security rally in Westchester, correct? Yeah, and we also had a May Day protest in Pottstown that was really well attended by several people in our congregation. So a lot of super exciting things. To that, our social justice action circle is rescheduled due to Mother's Day to 3rd Sunday, so it'll be the 18th of this month. We've had a lot of momentum going, as you guys can see, so I hope to see you all there so we can keep it going. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you, Art. I have a couple announcements. The first of which is, as we talk about that we are a community, there is an individual who many of the newer members may not know. Her name is Lisa Jo Keel. She has been a longtime member of this fellowship, and was also, she played the piano for us for years. The reason why she is no longer coming is she needed a paid job, so she plays at a Lutheran church. She also has another job. She is, I don't think she'd mind me telling you, she's 78 years old. And her husband, as none of us, he's just not getting healthier. So she's a very busy woman, but she is the woman behind our Sunday services. She is the one who, when you look at what the speaker is, or we say who's coming next week, or who's going to be coming in a year, that's Lisa who's been doing all of that work to schedule that. And she has asked to step down from that role. And I believe she has served her time and has done well by us. And so we need to fill that spot. Historically, and what had happened, and again, it is absolutely appreciated. You can appreciate that during COVID, like our committees went from committees to one person. And worship was the same way. It went down to Lisa. So the board met yesterday, and one of the topics was we need to get back to having a true worship committee, which is made up of more than one person. Now there is going to need to be a chair, but their goal is to be able to reach out to whether it be people within this fellowship or outside of the community to schedule speakers for us, right? And Lisa is more than willing to help walk through and start to develop this worship committee for people. So I'm going to put it out there, and I'm going to ask each of you to think deeply if this is something, because it's critical for us to continue to deliver quality Sunday services. That's why people get up out of bed on a Sunday morning on a rainy day to come here. So Mary, I know, has also served, I was gonna say religiously, on the worship committee. And I'm hoping that Mary will stick around as a member of the committee. And if you want to chair it, you certainly can. But we need more people, it just can't be Mary. So please look in your hearts and let me know if you would like to serve on that committee. All right. The second thing is I will be placing an order for giant cards. So if anybody wants a giant card, please let me know and I will do that. The last announcement is I do want to recognize Emily, who is back there making sure that everything is working from a technology perspective. So thank you very much. Emily is also the person that puts together our order of services. So again, those little handouts don't just magically appear, right? We don't have a connection to, ooh, here you go. And there was a responsive reading, so she was able to print that out and put it together. So we thank Emily for that. Thank Kate Price for the music. I believe the choir is going to sing, so thank you very much for getting together and practicing. And again, for our RE and Embers teachers. These Sunday services, it takes a committee to put these on, so thank you to all of you. All right, with that, let us get started on the service aspect of this. So I am going to ask my chalice lighter to come on up and light the chalice for us. And the reading is by Eric Hepburn. We light this flame to remind us love is the center. As we grow and connect, mature and deepen, love remains the center. When the light of truth burns all else away, love remains. Thank you. Very well. It was very well lit. And for our opening words, I'd like to do a responsive reading, and hopefully everyone has that handout. And this is a reading by Anastasia Gorosh. And anything that's in italics is what y'all will read back. We come together to lament with, celebrate with, and care for one another in our community and our world. Because we want to be here with one another, love is not only at the center, but also the opening that invites us to lament, celebrate, and care. Love invites us to honor our interdependence with all beings in the web of all existence.
Love invites us to envision a world all free from isolation, all of the darkness unprotected and unheard.
Love invites us to revel in our uniqueness, using pluralism as our guide.
Love invites us to recognize all beings are sacred and celebrated. All our beings sacred and our culture.
Love invites us to counter all forms of oppression with justice.
Love invites us to stand all forms of freedom and separation.
Love invites us to participate in our individual and collective transformation.
Love invites us to cultivate change so that we may grow spiritually and happily. We know we are working on our next and have finished growth.
Love invites us to connect by opening our hearts to generosity.
Love invites us to willingly share our time, talent, and treasure. Seek excellence in religion.
Love invites us to create inclusive, equitable communities.
Love invites us to know all people.
Love invites us to be in community together. And now we'll go to our opening hymn that I believe our choir is going to be singing, leading, they're leading.
I feel like I want like one or two people like you get a little more sacred. Do you want to go sit here? No. Okay.
So this is the same format we always do. I play it once. You
all sing at once, and then that round will start there.
Oh, am I starting? I thought I was one. I can, is that okay? That's not what practice, so that's fine.
You can do one.
I'll do one, okay. We'll be set, we'll be set.
Okay, one, and then she's gonna lead one, and then you come in with.
Oh, thank you.
We'll come in on number two.
And we're gonna do it 3 times. Sing out.
Thank you very much. And now we have a story for all ages, so Brittany. For those who are young in heart, want to come up?
This book is called When You Have Love. When you have love, you have a special gift to give someone whose heart needs a lift. Love can be given in more than one way to make a big difference in somebody's day. Love can be felt through a warm embrace and can help a friend feel accepted and safe. Love can be found waiting in line when learning to be patient until the right time. Love can be hard, a hard thing to do, and sometimes you won't want to say, I love you. Love can be heard when forgiving your sister, your parents, your brother, or even a stranger. Love can be selfless, letting others go first. It gives time and is kind to those at their worst. Love can be gracious when you make mistakes, leaving room to grow, passing all the heartaches. And love can be strong. That's the best part, you see. It can carry the world, carry you, carry me. Love knows no differences, it just sees you for you, and when you have love, it can carry you through. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such things there is no law. The end.
The offering that we take each Sunday is an opportunity to recommit to this place and to these people. It is as much a ritual as singing or lighting the chalice. It is a reminder that the form of love we call generosity. It is how we show that it is important to gather together to help our community and to say yes to the values of our faith. And thank you all. So now we'll get into our discussion. This is the last in the series of talking about the new shared values, part of Article 2 that the UUA passed almost a year ago. That pretty much defines who Unitarian Universalists are and what they stand for. We had taken each of the shared values, the first Sunday we had done each of them. The last one, even though we've gotten through the shared values, is I think it's important that we discuss is the fact that love is at the center of it all, right? So if you think of the flower petal, right, which has all the different values, love is right there at the center. And as the Article 2 states, love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We are accountable to one another for doing work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. Okay. It's interesting, as I was putting together some of the other shared values, they were a little bit more, let me put it this way, to me, they were fairly clear cut, even though we needed to discuss what does that mean? What do we do? How do we pull it through? This one to me is much more squishy. We've had over the years many sermons of people talking about love. We've defined all the different types of love. We've done a lot on love. But what I thought would be important is that we talk about it as it relates to the values today. And let me be very clear. Like I said, this is squishy to me, so I'm looking to really learn from everybody in this room. The great universalist heresy, the one that so threatened evangelical and Calvinist groups in New England in the late 18th and early 19th century that they vehemently opposed, denying Universalist preachers access to their pulpits and to positions of public power, was the nature that they believed that God was love. This love, embedded in the fabric of the universe, was strong, nurturing, and inclusive. It would not let go of anyone ever. Grounded in this love, Universalists rejected any ideas of an afterlife that ultimately separated humankind into the saved and the damned. They rejected the violence and cruelty inherent in traditional notions of atonement, which understood God as having ordained Jesus to suffer and die on behalf of humanity. Instead, with salvation as a given, the locus of religiosity became this world rather than the next among these people. The Universalists focused on the process of living as one, of coming into greater alignment with love as a response to the unshakable foundation of knowing one was already completely held in love. Following a similar thread, the early Unitarians in 19th century New England held an understanding of religious life as one of growing the soul towards likeness to God, whom they also understood as loving. They understood love as one of the capacities of the soul inherent in every human being. They did not suggest their parishioners should remove themselves from society in lives of contemplation and prayer, but rather that they unfold the divine likeness within themselves through the daily activities of living. Through the years, Unitarian Universalists have broadened and in some cases released notions of God's or the divine in religious life. We have troubled the imperialism toward which universalism leads. We have embraced ever-widening understanding of who is included in the divine likeness. We have deepened our critiques of the images of God that condone patriarchy, white supremacy, ableism, and violence. But we have held fast to love. We affirm the power of love to heal what is broken, to hold us together across pluralities of diverse religious practices and beliefs, to hold us when things fall apart, to grow our capacities, and to guide us as we return again and again in our families and communities to side with love. A lot of fancy words, a lot of deep meaning. So I think it's really important that we step back and ground ourselves and say, okay, if we're grounded in love, what does that really mean? And more importantly, what does it look like, right, in our actions? So I guess kind of like the opening question I have is they talk about doing the work of our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. What is the spiritual discipline of love? Bueller? Anybody? Okay.
I think it's your outlook. You have to work on your outlook constantly, so you're not becoming hateful or negative. You're being objective with people, you're being open, honest. I think it's your whole being. You're trying to get your whole being to being open to love and giving love. That's
Okay. Yeah.
It's all like you said, using the word acceptance. Like, I feel like that's, like, if you think about how, you know, your typical Christian might talk about God, you know, God loves everyone and, well, accepts everyone as they are. And I think that that's the way you show love to someone else, like your family, love them. Totally. You know, but I think that's it.
Yeah, I don't know either. No, they're interesting choice of words, right? Shared discipline of, or spiritual discipline of love. Discipline I find very interesting.
Yeah, it's reminding me of that meditation, and we had a service where we talked about this before, that meditation on love and compassion. Where like first you think about yourself and you wish good things for yourself, and then you think about something you like, you wish good things for them, and then you think about something you don't like, and you wish good things for them. And that's really hard, and it's something that takes a lot of practice, it's not something that naturally to us. So I think that discipline part of love is holding it in your heart that all people are worthy of your love and compassion, even when you don't agree with them, even when they're doing things you consider absolutely harmful. It's like you can, I don't understand, or you can try and help dismantle those actions that are hurtful, but they're still a person. Like, there's a person in there, and they probably think they're doing the right thing, maybe, even if you don't see it. So just, yeah, trying to meet someone from that place of understanding and that place of like, I'm like approaching this with love, not with like fear and anger and accusations.
Was there something? Okay.
I've got more.
Yeah.
I think discipline, and I encountered this myself, that humans can be easily drawn into othering people. They can be easily drawn into gossip or any kind of negative action. And the discipline is fighting against that. Acknowledging it, seeing it yourself, and then deciding to go the other way. The better way. That's the discipline.
And
I have been really struggling with trying to figure out what are some things that I can do. Because right now, I feel like, what's his name, King Kong, the Empire State, the shit just keeps going. I have a digital subscription to the New York Times, and there was an article in there that just caught my eye. It was Dr. Martin Luther King suggests what you can do. So, I mean, he's been gone since 1963, but anyway, they had his letter from Birmingham jail. And the reason he wrote that was he wanted for people to understand that love was the answer, okay? So I get that. But I'll tell you what, I'm having a really hard time seeing God in Trump and loving God, you know, loving Trump. Not there yet, I probably never will be. I saw his picture as the Pope. Did you see that?
Yes.
Yeah. Right, anyway, let's not go there. But I, you know, somehow I'm really, trying, I mean, I experience love every day. And I am trying to live in love, to have that discipline of love. But, I'm not at that place yet.
And I think that's the word, at least in my point of view, is the reason they put discipline in there is because it's easy for the people that we like or the people that we care about. We know who we love. That's easy. But the discipline part comes in when we start to have tension, when we start to have people who are different from us, you know, in whatever way. So it really is a skill that needs to be mastered. Sometimes we think, you know, love is just sort of this emotion and its feeling, but to truly demonstrate and to show it consistently, and to be in alignment with at least what our shared values are asking, is we need to continue to practice it.
When you say the word love, the first thing that comes to my mind, well, maybe I shouldn't say the first thing that comes to mind is that church. The second thing that comes to my mind is that when you approach these kinds of values of love, love means to me that, and this has already been said, so I apologize, I'm gonna kind of repeat it. That you have to listen very carefully and focus to people who are different than you, and work hard to understand where they're coming from and not to try to shut them down. I think to approach these values with love, I think we need freedom to express our views and to feel safe in expressing those views and have people listen and we listen to what people say, and I'll leave it at that.
You can say more. Mary.
It's funny, I took the definition of discipline totally differently.
Okay.
I took it as, you know, when you're practicing something, you know, what is your discipline? So your discipline of love is what you are practicing in whatever way you can. And you've had this discussion with others. And part of the problem is we may try it, we may not get it back. You know, you get that, you know, there's a certain word going around right now, it's called retribution. And, you know, part of it right now is speaking out, like all these protests, everything, and pushing back on that, which is love for everybody else. You know, didn't say that very clearly, but that's how I.
Okay. Lori.
I don't know, I just keep coming back to this idea that love is somewhat overcoming, you know, self-preservation. And last night I stayed up late to watch this goofy movie, I don't know why, Independence Day. I had to wait till we were saved. Quite good sleep. So there's a character in there who's kind of like a Jesus-like character, you know, where he's persecuted, they're making fun of him, he's an alcoholic. He has had these, they believe, delusions of these aliens, you know, stealing him and so forth. Anyway, in the end of the movie, he saves the earth by giving up himself, driving into the spaceship and blowing up the alien spaceship. Anyway, that act of love where it might seem silly, but he says no words. he gets out himself to save your, that makes me think of like, you know, Mother Teresa, how she really gave away her self-preservation, you know, with not thought for her own health, you know, her own needs. And that's when I think of love, that's how I think of the most loving thing. And also vulnerability, like we have to have that, giving up some of ourselves, you know, to be vulnerable, to be loving and loved.
Yeah. John?
That last sentence is 21 words long. I struggle to boil it down to 5 words. And I think you could say the same thing in 5 words. You said, we must respect one another. And then that implies everything else that's sentence is phrase.
And if you weren't so busy building your house, you could have been on the committee to change the wording of the article. And I say that with love, John. No, I that's beautiful. I mean, I think that's absolutely spot on. Or did you have something?
Yeah, I think everybody said wonderful things, for discipline. It's getting, for me, it's doing something every day. In a spiritual sense, whether it's meditation or a reading or both. And then trying to get out of my own way, my own self, and giving a little bit. It could just be, you know, saying thank you to a neighbor or waving, being polite, helping somebody across, anything. Just getting out of yourself and doing something for somebody else. And that's a discipline every single day. And if we all do that, that works in conjunction and moving forward to what everyone else said, as a nation or just as a community. We're not really going to make much dent in the shambles of our nation at the moment. But as a community, we can do that, thinking in baby steps.
Yeah. And smiling at people, right? You happen to be passing by or you happen to be like open the door for somebody and you smile. When was the last time you smiled at a stranger? Right? I mean, a lot of times you're kind of like, oh, they're smiling at me, they're crazy, they're gonna get
asking you to smile.
Yeah, Alan, I could be.
One more thing, I want to find out what the UUA and the writers of Article 2 mean by love. Because we have covenants that we've promised to follow. And they're supposed to be the center of his love. So I have here a statement by the charge to the Article 2 Study Commission about what they mean by love. And they say, our commitment to personal, institutional, and cultural change rooted in anti-oppression, anti-racism, and multicultural values and practices is love in action. Should be centered in any revision of Article 2. So reading this and other things that I have followed, their view is we are covenant, we promise to do these things, anti-oppression, anti-racism, and multiculturalism, because that is being committed to those things is love in action, and that's what their focus is. Now, when I think of love and working to implement these values. Okay, these are the values, but we should implement them with kindness and respect for others. So that's not said in the document, in the Article 2. Well, I guess all right, it might have been said, but it's not emphasized. And we should go beyond tolerance to understanding. is another thing. It's not just to tolerate a point of view, but to try to understand them. And where all are welcome in the search for intellectual stimulation and spiritual nourishment, that we welcome people in, we listen, and we go beyond tolerance to understanding and keep it there. And I think I emphasize those things because I think to some extent, those things are missing from Article 2. It is a call to political action. But to be individually kind to people is not something that is emphasized in this document, in the Article of document. But that's what comes to mind when I think of using love to implement these values. Maybe disagree with that.
John.
So the challenge here, define spiritual discipline, and now I'm trying to look at my phone and see what does that mean? What does spiritual mean? What does spiritual discipline mean? That is confusing, but kind of scientific. But the term love, if we go around the room and we gave everyone a little slip of paper and said, define love, we will get a myriad of responses to that request. I personally, which may come up in discussions going forward, do not understand the sense of love. I understand it's more of a duty and a responsibility to somebody else, but I don't understand love at the most basic level just because it's who I am. When you throw the word love out to me, I would probably have a very different definition perhaps than some people would have in terms of physical attraction to people, whatever it got to be married, et cetera, et cetera. So I think the premise that they assume we understand what love means is challenging.
So it's interesting because I made the decision to not spend time on defining love. Because to your point, that would be a series of conversations, and we've done that, right? And we've walked away knowing that love is complex, right? Love for each of us actually can look different. I wanted this not so much to start to become a definition of what love is, but I think we, regardless of what our definition is, and please tell me that I'm wrong, I think we can look at actions that people take and go, well, that wasn't grounded in love. Wow, what a loving thing to do, right? Regardless of what our definition is. John.
I think to amplify that, I think love is like the thing in the Skinner black box. That stuff happens, there's a black box which we define as love or the machine of love, and there's outcomes. So I think we recognize what people do that we call loving. When it comes out, they decide how we each filter through that black box. Just to say that it can be very different, which is why we can't ever define it, because it's a black box. It could be the Pandora's box, it could be a black box.
Agree. Love is, I mean, each person has a history, and that history that brought us to this point in time has formed and defined what our definition of love is, right? We've all had different experiences, so I think that's really important, but agree that it is, but we can recognize what was done lovingly and what was not done lovingly. And it doesn't mean that it was done meanly, it just was something that was done without love. Somebody else had a hand up over. Did I cut somebody else off? Okay, so Alan, I don't know what was in their minds when they wrote that. Yeah.
Well, that was their charge.
Right.
The committees were for Article 2.
Right. But I think it is, I think it is more, and again, right now, Article 2 is not saying, you know, send us your list of actions towards each of these covenants, right? We're gonna send the covenant police down to see whether or not you're following this or not. They're not doing this. The purpose of this is to help us as Unitarian Universalists sitting in Pottstown to better understand, can we help stretch our personal interpretation of what this means, and then hopefully get to a point where we go, so what are some actions we can take? What is it we do now currently? Maybe we can show a little bit more love with doing that. John.
Well, I think a challenge in my many years in the fellowship has been dealing with as effectively as possible with visitors. And people come here often and visit. And I think our retention percentage is not what it might be, but I have no way to know what the retention percentage should be if we look at the UIsm. I'm not sure the keep statistics in, in different congregations as if new people come and visit, how many people stick around. I've seen videos, maybe you were doing not about how to do that, have a loving reading system. When people come in, we make them feel very happy to be here. They're wandering, they're searching at our all. We have constraints obviously on person power, as you talked about earlier. So from a greeting, I try to greet them kindly and ask them, hey, we're glad you're here. I define this, we know anything about what we're all about. Do some early education if I can, if overwhelming them, give a brief tour if possible. Whether those are the right things to do or not, whether those are the loving things to do or not, I don't know. When people come during coffee hour, I think it's essential, I think in a larger congregation, they designate people to be attached to them. If they would make an effort to sit with them and, make them feel as welcome as possible. We never want to have the visitors sitting at a table by themselves, feeling very direct, not quite knowing what to do with themselves. So I think that's one, if nothing else, aside from people sitting in the room right now who are already come here and get retained, I think we need to show love in whatever form it would be, how we can manifest that when people walk through the door for the first time, seeking hopefully love, whatever it is we have to welcome.
Eric.
Yeah, so I'll speak to a couple points of that. So I think many of you know that I'm an interfaith, minister. So it is wedding season now. So as you can imagine, love is in the forefront of the mind. I'm marrying people. I'm out there, reading all sorts of passages and all of that. And the scope of things. And a lot of these passages speak to love being patient and kind and wonderful. It's almost like this lofty concept. Well, if you can imagine a couple months down the road, I have these people come to me for marital counseling and they're like, well, love is not patient. Love is not kind. Like, I'm pissed off all the time, right? What is that? So my thing is, a lot of times we do look at love and it does have a lot of wonderful, wonderful elements. But I think what it boils down to is putting the needs of others above our own. In a balanced fashion, because we also need to show a lot of self-love, but it's a topic for a different, discussion. So, and basically what we do here at UUFP is a great example of that. I think, Kay playing the piano, right? She doesn't want to play the piano here all the time. I can guarantee you that. But yet she's there. She's playing the piano. She's putting the needs of others of our community above her own, right? That's love, right? Sam coming here, unlocking the door every morning, right? So early. Do you think he wants to be here every morning? Probably not. But he's here putting the needs of our community above everybody else, right? All these protests that you did, I think it was inconvenient for a lot of us to go and show up as a community, at night, a very short notice, right? To really showcase the social justice element. We were putting the needs, not just of UUFP together as a community, but the needs of the whole world in general, right? Above our own convenience. That is the definition of love. And this is where I find a lot of us understand it here at UUFP in a lot deeper fashion than maybe some other congregations. And this is why I find that the visual is so potent here, because right in the middle, love is right central, right? Exactly. And everything else is built up all around it. So while love is not always patient, not always kind, love is imperfect, love certainly comes with discipline and boundaries. I think if we keep in mind in a balanced fashion the needs of others whom we love, whether it's a community, whether it's a spouse, whether it's our children, that is really the ultimate definition of what that means.
All right. Well, on that note, Mary.
The garden.
Yeah,
Gardening, the garden is sending all that food over every year. I can't, Kay keeps track of the net poundage of food that we send over. I mean, that's a great sending of love out to the community. With the folks.
Emily?
We have a comment from somebody who's online today. She said, I really appreciate this conversation. It's brought to mind that love is the only term in the UU flower that can be both a noun and a verb. Love's centrality in the image makes me feel as if it is the how, the action verb, to encourage the flourishing of generosity and justice and equity and everything else.
Yeah, very nice. Thank you very much. John?
Yeah, so I think the comment is there's two chunks of love. There's the invisible love that exists in the black box. There's love, the concept of love sits around, but it's meaningless if it does not lead to an action that we will discuss as a definition of what is a loving action. So I think that's my comment. I think love is expressed. If it's not expressed, it's simply a flowery term.
Okay, good. Any other thoughts or ideas in terms of, and it's funny, as people have been making comments, a couple of thoughts flashed through my mind when Irene, you're talking about love is, all I could think of was Pat Benatar, love is battlefield.
Yeah.
Don't know what's going on in my life, but that will pop to mind, but yeah. Anyway, the other thing too is, and I think, again, this is sort of that discipline, and we've all also been saying this, is, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with Joseph Campbell. But he is very much thought of one of the, didn't set out to be, he was actually a literature teacher up at, I think, Sarah Lawrence College, but he turned into be very much a spiritual leader. And when he was talking about, you know, people entering into marriage with love, right? And his whole thing is if you are looking at it that you have an expectation regarding what that comes back as. And he was saying it was, I'm going into this marriage because this person fulfills me. I'm going in this marriage because I'm not going to be alone. He goes, what people are failing to realize is when you go into a marriage, you're creating a third entity, which is this entity, whether you call it a partnership, whether you call it the marriage, and the two of you need to be focused on that. And it's not about your individual needs. So I bring that up only as we talk about, because really where I get tripped up in continuously demonstrating or having actions based in love is when it's somebody I'm not agreeing with and when it's somebody that's got a different point of view. But if I bring it back to let's have a discussion on this topic. Right? It's not you're wrong, it's your point of view. It's let's have a discussion on the topic and the focus is on the topic. It is easier for me, and then it's listening, respecting what they're saying, not expecting that they're going to do the same thing because they may or may not. But that in my mind is how I can go into a more difficult conversation with love at the forefront. And not this knee-jerk, defensive, you're wrong perspective. So that's what I was just thinking. Any other final comments? Like I said, this is a squishy topic. And I didn't want to spend the time defining love because that would be a 5-part series in and of itself. But it is something that, interestingly enough, all religions have love somewhere mentioned. Love thy neighbor. Love thy this. But I think we have seen, history has shown, a number of these religions fall short of that. And the fact that it is put at the forefront, we may not agree with the wording of it, but I think we agree with what we understand as the intent and feel comfortable pulling through with that. So thank you all for participating. With that, we will go to hymn 1031, Filled with Loving Kindness.
And I could say, the first verse is may I be filled, the second is may you be filled, the third verse is may we be filled with loving kindness.
now, we extinguish this flame, you can all say this together. Thank you, Sheila. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of wisdom, warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and in our hands until we are together again. And I will, the closing words, I will quote Dr. Martin Luther King. I believe that truth and unconditional love will have the final word in reality. This is why right, temporarily defeated, is stronger than evil triumphant. Coffee time. Thank you.